Descendants' continuous promotion.
Hello, world. Melanie Little, the fraud, is being exposed in real time, and she is trying to procrastinate the shit out of reading this. This isn't going to be a long live. I just don't have the time to deal with this right now, but I am going to just, for those of you that want to know the truth, I'm going to highlight some shit that she's been lying to you about for the last 3 years. So let's see. She's finally getting to the meat and potatoes on this after procrastinating for fucking an hour. She knows what's coming.
Mischaracterizing the ARCA report and findings as part of a closed federal investigation. Again, I'm going to point out, nobody has confirmation from the actual federal investigation, from the actual U.S. Attorney's Office, that this investigation has been closed.
Okay, so if anybody that's watching that wants to know the truth about Karen Read's case, Karen Read is a guilty murderer. Melanie Little is a paid shill. The young jerks are a paid shill. LTL's a paid shill. Broken Baker, all of these, Brandy Churchwell, all of them, they're all paid shills. They all know she's guilty. Hank Brennan is here for a reason. Hank Brennan is going to expose the fraud. And yes, it has to do with the federal government, of which he is very familiar. He's already started exposing it, and y'all just want to pretend like none of the stuff that he's talking about has any credibility, because you're so scared of the truth. Because hopefully all of y'all are going to get cuffed and stuffed, because you have all been involved in a corruption, a conspiracy to corrupt the American justice system. Many of you are attorneys who have taken an oath to uphold the law. This is RICO, bitches. So if anybody wants to know about the shit that Melanie Little is spewing, I'm going to call it out as she reads this. Now she's talking about, she still wants to say that the federal investigation is open. She is so full of shit, her eyes should be brown. The feds do not come out and announce that they are done investigating. Every major news source has announced that they are investigating. The only people that refuse to accept the fact that they're done investigating are people that are shilling for a murderer called Karen Read. That is it. They don't make announcements. They should in this case. I think Hank Brennan is going to get the best that he can. I don't know if he's going to be able to get them to do that. Maybe he's going to be able to subpoena somebody. I don't know. But they don't do it. They went on a new, the new, U.S. Attorney went on a radio show and said, you know, wink, wink, nod, nod. We don't make these announcements, but what we do is we do contact our counterparts, meaning the local authorities that are overseeing these investigations, like the Canton Police, the MSP, the state troopers, the area, okay? So then she said, wink, wink, nod, nod, and then Rafferty showed up in court that day because Hank was going to make that announcement. And guess what Alessi did? Alessi did what Alessi does. Alessi talked for 55 hours in a circle about nothing. About nothing. He didn't even make any points, but he went through this whole bullshit frickin'... Blah! I can't even talk. The whole thing pisses me off so much. Because that was the first day that Jackson and Yannetti were put on their back feet, on their heels, because Hank Brennan started exposing this shit right in front of everybody's eyes. but nobody that's shilling for a murderer wants to admit it. They all want to just say, oh, they're all lying. They all hate Turtle Boy. This is all because they think Karen Read is too pretty. Like, come on, people. Pull your heads out of your asses and understand how the law works. Understand how the jurisprudence works. People like Melanie Little and Mark Betterow and these asshole attorneys, the defense diaries, Andrea Burkhart, Carl Steinbeck now has jumped on this frickin' crazy train. Like, what are you thinking? You should understand better than anybody how these things work. Yet you are willing to throw your reputation on the line for clicks and views and money? You have zero integrity.
Am I right? Unless something has happened that I'm not aware of. The only person who has come out and given a statement is Helena Rafferty, who is the chief of police of Canton, and she did it on her own letterhead. Okay?
Yes, she did it because she was contacted by the new USA. And that's why the USA went on that radio show and announced that she can talk to the people that the jurisdictions. Hello, but they won't admit that. They won't admit that.
Yeah.
So you know what? Good for them, because they are just walking right into Hank Brennan's trap. So keep it coming. Keep your stupidity coming, because you're all going down.
That is not an official source.
Think you can get away with murder? You think you can get away with freeing a murderer just because it suits your wallet? That is despicable. She murdered a Boston police officer, and you're trying to free her because it brings you money and popularity on YouTube.
I have great concerns. I do too. For United Southern Ground, I have great concerns about old Hank.
Oh, you don't need to have concerns about him. You need to have concerns about your own ass.
To not seeing irrelevant materials.
Yeah, irrelevant. The text stream data?
No official FBI statement or statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office. In fact, Leah Foley, who's taken over for Josh Levy, has said she can't comment on it, right?
She can't. Yes, because they don't. That's why Helen Rafferty was there, and you know it. You lying sack of shit. Anybody that listens to this bitch, I want y'all to know she has been lying to your faces. Every day she turns off her computer and she counts your money, and then she goes on vacation with your money. She is making money off of the death of a Boston police officer trying to free a murderer. And again, she knows Karen Read is guilty. She knows it. She knows exactly what's going on here. And she plays stupid with this shit. And it's disgusting because she's taking advantage of all of you people that look up to her and defend her and say, oh, she's so wonderful. No, she's not. There is nothing classy about this bitch. Nothing. You don't have to believe me. Watch what's coming down. 2 weeks? If these bitches aren't in fucking prison by then?
With ARCA LLC.
Like they should be, all of her
February
defense
12th,
attorneys.
2024. Okay, so he's saying
For this fraud,
that's when
RICO.
ARCA generated their report. ARCA generated a 13-page report of 4 specific findings. Those findings were not, as the defense claims, unequivocal evidence that the victim was not struck by a vehicle. Well, but that's the only thing that they were hired to find out. Was John O'Keefe hit by Karen Read's Lexus, and did Karen Read's Lexus hit John O'Keefe? That was the...
And again, show us your work. How did you come to that conclusion? Nobody can say this unequivocally did not come from this, which is why all of these assholes want to say, oh, well, yeah, the medical examiner said it could have come from a bat. It could have come from this. Yeah, it could have. A horse could have trampled over him. He could have got hit by a baseball bat. He could have got, run over by a vehicle. He could have got run over by a four-wheeler. You cannot say with any kind of medical certainty what caused those injuries. You can draw conclusions like it was blunt force trauma, and there are very obvious signs of, what happened to his head. But you cannot come out and say unequivocally he was not struck by a vehicle. They didn't take into consideration any of the text stream data, which means they didn't know any of the information that she was driving 24 miles an hour in reverse with 74% of that gas pedal pushed down for 62 feet with all of her bells and whistles going off, never touching the brake once. Think that would have been helpful information? These text stream data experts who didn't want to see text stream data, who then rendered the opinion that he wasn't struck by a vehicle unequivocally? Come on, people, use your brains.
Whole purpose for which the U.S. Attorney's Office hired them, they say no. Like Hank Brennan says, rather, the ARCA findings were narrowly tailored to whether ARCA witnesses believed the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe produced damage as observed in photographs to the Lexus. No. No. I think you misunderstood everything.
No,
That was only Dr.
Melanie,
Mercer.
your ship is going down. You're
Injuries.
fucked.
And the damage to the vehicle. I don't know what he's talking about, Bentley. Your guess is as good as mine. What the WTF is he talking about? I have no idea. Right? Lori Marie says, wait, did they consider the score of the basketball game that night? If not, then clearly their findings are moot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, Melanie Little depends on her audience
Right.
being stupid. So, for those of you that shill for her, just know that that's what she thinks of you. She depends on you being
Expert,
stupid
Dr. Rensler,
so that she
testified,
tells you what to
acknowledged
think.
that, quote, if there's a side swipe impact with a pedestrian and a vehicle, there's going to be very little damage to the pedestrian. So a side swipe by its very nature involves minimal impact, minimal forces, minimal velocities, which, contrary to the defendant's claims, advances the Commonwealth's theory of the case. Okay, no, that it doesn't actually.
Yes, it does.
Because in order to break that taillight, there would have to be a lot of force inflicted upon the pedestrian, which would have caused much worse injuries, like a shattered elbow or arm.
How do you know his?
Really
How do you know nothing was broken, Melanie? There was no X-ray. She's lying, people. She's lying.
He goes on to say, second,
God, I hope she goes down.
There's no adequate assurance that the ARCA witnesses lack bias.
All the people she's taken advantage of. She has built her brand off of trying to free a murderer.
How about you
And in the
past opportunity to voir dire the ARCA witnesses,
and in doing so, cheating a Boston police officer out of getting justice. His family getting justice, his loved ones getting justice, because she wanted to be popular on YouTube and make a bunch of money by sitting on her ass on YouTube all day. She doesn't give a shit about anybody but herself. And if that's not obvious by the way that she treats her audience, you all defend her and stick up for her. I feel bad because, you really do need to understand that she truly does not give a shit about any of you. This all gets exposed. I'm curious to see what she's going to do. How long is she going to play stupid? Because she plays stupid really well. She's like, 227 still happened. Yeah, it's been disproven in a court of law, but y'all just want to ignore that because your leaders tell you to ignore it, so you blindly follow them. Y'all need to go watch the Charlie Manson documentary on Netflix that just came out. It's a very similar thing that's happening with this FKR movement. It's mind-boggling to those of us that can think for ourselves and want to think for ourselves and actually care about truth and justice, dignity and integrity and honor and love.
Transparency about the ARCA defense relationship. Well, you know what? Lally didn't ask.
Yes, Lally
That's on
did ask.
him. And as the judge has pointed out so many times recently, Lally didn't ask. That's on him. And as the judge has pointed out so many times recently, Lally didn't ask. That's on him. And as the judge has pointed out so many times recently, You know,
Lally
when
asked.
you speak for the defense, Mr. Jackson or Mr. Yannetti, you speak on behalf of all of the defense attorneys.
What kind of bullshit is she trying to spin? Lally didn't ask about the relationship between the defense and the ARCA witnesses because they kept saying that they were impartial. They never spoke to them. And then afterwards, we find out that they paid him $25,000, which all of us knew. The people that know Karen's guilty knew this. And we've, been doing research and helping the Commonwealth get you criminals all caught in your lies. Her defense attorneys should literally go to prison, and so should Melanie Little, and so should Mike Crawford, and so should Brian at LTL, and so should Turtle Boy, and so should everybody that's involved in this. This is RICO. This is what the mob does. There's money, so much money, that all of her supporters, you good-hearted, kind people who have believed all the shit that they have fed you for the last 3 years, and plenty of us have been trying to warn you, but you all think that we're assholes and you call us grifters. We're not grifting. We're not making any money. I'm not making money off of this. I'm doing this as a public service announcement. For anybody that hears this, if you want to know the truth, stop giving your money to Karen. She's not using it for her defense. She's using it to get drunk, to spend nights in hotels, to eat steak dinners. She's not spending it on anything that she's supposed to be spending it on. And she gets funneled money, $5,000 at a time, to her direct Venmo. It's disgusting. There is so much criminal activity going on in FKR. And Hank's starting to expose what he's found, and I hope to God he brings the whole thing down.
So therefore, Mr. Brennan, shield and sword, when Mr. Lally did not properly cross-examine the ARCA witnesses during the first voir dire, that's on you.
What's he supposed to ask, Melanie Little? Is he supposed to ask, have the defense attorneys been lying to us because they've represented to us every single day that we've talked about this, that they are completely impartial, and that they've, in fact, right before that they called them to testify, Judge Canoni said, so I'm supposed to believe that you're calling witnesses that you've never spoke to. And they said yes. Other than to get their schedules. They try to mince their words just enough to not break the law, but they've broken the law. And Hank Brennan's coming for them.
Doesn't matter. The defense did not.
It's going to be explosive this week.
Substantive relationship with ARCA until February 13th of 2025. Okay. Substantive relationship. Yes. They paid an invoice that was drop mailed to them after the trial. They called the U.S. attorney and said, can we pay this? They said yes. That was mid-July.
No. So if anybody wants to know the truth, it's on, I've said this a lot of times, but let me just break it down real fast for anybody that might need to hear this today. David Yannetti, Karen Read, walked into Josh Levy's office. We don't know what Josh Levy's motive was up until this point. I don't know that that's been cracked yet. Something probably to do with some hatred of Morrissey. But I'm sure there's some political bullshit. They walked in there. This freaking murder defendant had a meeting with her attorney and Josh Levy, the United States Attorney of Massachusetts. Just walked in there and had a meeting, sit-down meeting. Can you imagine if every murder defendant on trial for murder could just walk into their local U.S. Attorney's office and have a sit-down meeting with them? There's some political favors going on here, okay? And now Josh Levy is not there anymore, and Hank Brennan is on his ass. Thank God. Because those of us that have been trying to expose this shit in the public, God, Hank Brennan is my frickin' hero, man. I really want to see this whole thing come crashing down. Anyway, they walked in there, told him a bunch of bullshit. The people that believe this story, right? Like, a bunch of adults are going to bring their children to a family member's house to drink after the bar where their 22-year-old son is having some 22-year-old friends over for his birthday party, and they plan to beat the shit out of their friend and then leave him on their own front yard to die. Okay? So this is the story they bring to the ASUA. Now, I'm sorry, Josh Levy, you are not stupid. So you are corrupt, because it's only one of two things. You cannot possibly tell me that you believe that that shit went down. We've got Brian Albert, who helped bring down some very serious murderers, like the Craigslist killer, was it the Boston Hillside Strangler or something? There were some major criminals that he brought down. Then you've got Brian Higgins, who is a DEA agent, who has thrown himself in the line of fire to save one of his comrades that he worked with. I mean, these are people that they're trying to say decided to beat the shit out of a Boston police officer for no apparent reason, just because, I don't know, I think the best reason that they have is because Brian Higgins and Karen Read flirted, and so he was gonna kill John and then frame the person that he wanted to get with? Or it was a 17-year-old kid who Karen made up a lie about and said some bullshit about he was throwing beer cans on John's lawn or something, and so they were gonna kill John over that. I mean, the whole thing, it's so asinine. It's so asinine. So Josh Levy is going down with this shit. So all of the shit that Hank is saying in here is facts. And Melanie, you can make all the faces in the world you want. I hope I see your face when you get hauled off to prison, where you belong, with Karen.
After the case was over, there was a mistrial. It was still unclear at that point whether she was going to be tried again.
Bullshit, 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 bullshit.
In July 2024, what substantive relationship? Talking about, hey, can you guys come because you're going to need to be voir dired? It's important to note that also that the Commonwealth had every opportunity to pick up the phone.
Oh, she's procrastinating.
Dr. Rentschler themselves.
Guys, I just wanted to go live really fast just to show her in real time. I can't sit here and listen to her. I seriously want to punch her in the face so bad right now.
Why would they want to pick up the phone and call two expert
She's such a lying piece of shit. Please beware of her. She lies. She is not giving her audience facts. Once I calm down, I can come back on and explain all of this again, but I gotta get off right now. Thank you all for coming.
After the new administration at the U.S. Attorney's Office produced in response to the Commonwealth's